This is the CBS Evening News. Susan Spencer reporting. Good evening. The crisis in the Israeli-occupied territories escalated today as cornered Israeli troops opened fire with live ammunition in a Gaza slum, killing a Palestinian man. And there were bloody demonstrations again, too, in Jerusalem. As Bob Simon reports, the Israelis now acknowledge that the end of these disturbances is nowhere in sight, and their apparent answer is more force.
Israel was pouring reinforcements into the Strip today. On the road, tank transports, busloads of troops. Another infantry brigade has arrived. But the kids with the rocks are now up against even more than soldiers with riot guns and real guns. They're up against Israeli armor. Gaza is beginning to look like the Golan Heights, but it doesn't seem to make much difference. Israel's defense minister confessed to the cabinet today that he had underestimated the extent of the disturbances and overestimated Israel's ability to put them down quickly. His message: don't hold a stopwatch.
It's not going to be achieved by 1 or 2 days. It requires patience, determination, and the use of force.
39 Palestinians were treated for gunshot wounds at Gaza's main hospital today. Doctors said they had to turn away some of the wounded because there was no room. In a macabre twist, a Gaza cemetery turned into a battleground. Gravestones used as shelters for the living. The Israelis had always assumed that trouble in the territories comes in short waves and then fades away. That reality is changing, and so are some Israeli ideas. With enough force, the riots can be put down. There's no argument about that. The argument is about the cost.
If we commit ourselves to following up every stone, then we will find ourselves involving the entire Israeli force, not in the strategic task of deterring aggression against us on the boundaries, but on work which is essentially police work.
There was some blood today. There was much pain. The Israelis are getting kicked around not only in the streets of Jerusalem, but they feel on the television screens of the Western world, where the images are bad news for the Jewish state. They began reacting to it this weekend by making the news very difficult to cover. Officers were blocking off entire areas to journalists. We're not allowed to be here.
No.
We're not allowed to be in Ramallah.
No.
All of Ramallah.
Ramallah, all the city is closed.
In Gaza, an officer was not verbal in communicating with journalists, but he did communicate.
I mean, don't you legally have to show us a piece of paper that says Gaza is closed?
A military source said the mood in the high command tonight is deep dejection. Officers thought that the media would get tired of the story, that Palestinians would get tired of rioting. Neither has happened, and they're not entirely sure what to do next. Bob Simon, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
To follow up on his blockbuster summit in Washington, Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev now wants a high-level meeting with leaders in China. TASS quoting him today as saying it would be a logical development. In the past, the Chinese have rejected that idea. There are reports tonight that Iran-Contra investigators will question Vice President Bush under oath tomorrow. That is not likely to help struggling candidate Bush in Iowa, where he and Senator Dole are rapidly forgetting that old GOP commandment not to speak ill of another Republican. Bill Whitaker reports.
George Bush has problems in Iowa. As he campaigns across the state, he is repeatedly pressed on his role in the Iran-Contra affair. It's a question Bush can't seem to throw.
I think most people feel that it's been adequately answered, too. I think that we'll find that out in these elections.
Now Bush is fighting back. Yesterday, he called on chief rival Bob Dole to release past tax returns, trying to chip away at the senator's everyman image by forcing him to reveal his personal wealth. Today, Dole shot back.
I think what he's trying to do is shift the focus from credibility on the Iran-Contra thing to something else.
The Iran-Contra issue came to a head at Friday's Republican debate in Des Moines.
I think the American people do want to know what you said, and sooner or later you're going to have to do it.
I don't think anyone's going to ride to the White House on anybody here on knocking me or knocking the president on Iran.
Still, no matter how often he deals with the issue, Bush can't seem to put it behind him. In Creston, Iowa, at a meeting of Republican county officials yesterday, it was clear the Iran-Contra affair has hurt Bush.
We've gone through Watergate once. We want to know all the answers and just put them on the table.
I think there's a thing about honesty, and some people feel that he wasn't entirely honest.
I think we want to make sure that our Republican candidates are pretty honest and upright persons.
Reactions like that have prompted Iowa frontrunner Dole to keep up the heat.
My view is that Bush ought to release all of his notes and all of his private papers and all the memorandums that come into his office on the Iran-Contra affair. Lay them out there, let the public see them, and get this behind us.
Attacking Bush on Iran-Contra is a calculated gamble for Dole. With the caucuses 1 month off, some here question whether the increasingly personal nature of the campaign will actually benefit the candidates or simply alienate Iowa voters. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Des Moines.
All the candidates trying to target money and resources are running into one hard fact. There are 30 million Americans over the age of 65. And as Eric Engberg reports, politically they are not ready to sit in their rocking chairs and be ignored.
Tell me, we're calling about the upcoming presidential caucuses.
The politicians have dubbed it gray power. The emergence this year in Iowa and other key nominating states of well-orchestrated, well-financed campaigns by senior citizens to influence the choice for president.
And when 27 million of us speak out, well, the politicians better listen.
Making its first run at presidential politics, the giant American Association of Retired Persons, AARP, has an $8 million campaign war chest. No one candidate is being endorsed. The strategy is to impress all the politicians with the growth of gray power.
I think that how a candidate stands on the issues that are being brought forward by AARP may very well determine who wins the election.
The big issues for the elderly lobby are Social Security benefits, Medicaid, and the need for more long-term health care, all costly and controversial programs.
We're not asking for a free ride. We're just asking that they help us rearrange the system so that it's taking care of the problems that are coming up.
Jack Kemp, running for President of the United States.
In Iowa, where half the caucus goers are likely to be over 50, the candidates are lavishing attention on the elderly. The electorate here in Iowa is among the oldest in the nation, but everywhere seniors are a growing force. Retirement gives them more time for politics, and they make it a point to vote. Most important, they are a rapidly growing percentage of the population.
It will be an issue and an organization, a group of people that will increase in power as time goes on. We're just seeing the beginning of it now.
This growing power worries some analysts who fear politicians will give in to too many high-cost demands.
Anyone who gets elected president is going to have to ask himself how he's going to balance the budget if he's going to continue to provide these very rapid increases in benefits for older people.
If we were to make get into an austerity program, let's make it all the way. Then I think every senior citizen and every junior citizen would be glad to share his part of that load.
Those cost battles are certain to be fought in the future. For now, the elderly lobby says it has at least won a solid beachhead. The candidates are coming to them and paying attention to their concerns. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Des Moines.
In just a moment, more trouble ahead for embattled Arizona Governor Evan Mecham. And later on, be glad you never forget how to ride a bike, because bikes are back and bikes are booming.
If you're like me with an irritable bowel, stressful days can mean diarrhea one day, constipation on another. You see, if there's too much water in the intestines, you have diarrhea. Not enough, constipation. Now there's new Equilactin, a single medicine for diarrhea or constipation. Equilactin tablets help restore the proper water balance to relieve both problems. So with an irritable bowel, when stressful days mean diarrhea or constipation, Equilactin helps me feel like a human being again.
When it's cold and rough outside, try something warm and creamy inside. Cream of wheat hot cereal and instant Mix-A-Eat. Their smooth texture always lets the flavor come through. Two great ways to come in from the cold.
Arizona Governor Evan Mecham faces a recall attempt, possible impeachment, a trial on criminal charges, and tomorrow he faces the state legislature to deliver a State of the State address. Mecham worked on it today, and aides say he won't mention his indictment last week by a grand jury. Jerry Bowen reports.
I believe my record is one of the cleanest in Arizona.
After 1.5 years of constant investigation into everything I have done, this is all they can come up with.
What a grand jury came up with was a 6-count indictment against Arizona's embattled governor. Charges: he concealed a $350,000 campaign loan, then lied about it on campaign spending reports. His brother, the campaign treasurer, was also indicted.
I am completely clean.
The criminal charges are just the latest problem for the feisty first-term Republican. The Arizona House will receive a report this week on possible impeachment because of the secret campaign loan. And a recall vote could occur as early as May, the result of petitioners who charge Mecum is insensitive to blacks, women, gays, and other special interest groups. Recall organizers say the indictments are welcome, but a vote is still necessary.
Mecum does not appear as though he's going to resign. This recall is the people speaking. It is the process, and we cannot lose faith in the recall.
Mecum, elected by a minority of the voters in a three-way race little over a year ago, is ignoring calls for his resignation, calls from a growing bipartisan chorus.
I think it's going to be simply impossible for him to effectively carry out the duties of governor under this cloud.
As long as he's there, he's a center of controversy. I have people in Washington ask me every day, what's that wacko governor of yours done next?
Mecum, who claims he's a victim of the press and political enemies, is next scheduled to deliver his State of the State address tomorrow. There are many here who suggest Arizona is in a state of confusion, embarrassment, and bitterness. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Phoenix.
Another one-time member of the Reagan Inner Circle goes on trial in federal court in Washington tomorrow. He is Lynn Nofziger, and Rita Braver looks at the charges against him.
On our side, we'll find that out, but I think justice...
Former White House political advisor Lynn Nofziger faces 4 counts of influence peddling for his lobbying activities after leaving the Reagan administration. Independent counsel James McKay says that Nofziger illegally contacted former administration colleagues on behalf of Fairchild Republic Corporation, the National Marine Engineers Beneficial Association, and WedTech, the infamous Bronx defense contractor now involved in a series of criminal cases. Nofziger has always maintained that he never realized his lobbying was illegal.
I am absolutely convinced of my innocence. Frankly, this kind of thing is just isn't something that anybody would go out and deliberately do.
But the trial will be embarrassing not only for Nofziger, but also for the whole Reagan administration. A key prosecution witness is expected to be Attorney General Edwin Meese. The indictment charges that Nofziger improperly wrote to Meese, who was then in the White House, in a bid to help WedTech get a big defense contract. Meese himself is under a separate independent counsel investigation for other WedTech links. And the Nofziger trial comes as the White House is still reeling from the recent conviction of another former top Reagan aide, Michael Deaver. With more than 100 current and former administration officials now under investigation, some critics say there is now an unprecedented ethics problem.
That problem is too much loose money and too little concern in Washington about ethics in government.
But other experts say that this administration has been caught by new, tougher ethics laws than in the past, and by overzealous scrutiny.
I think that there is a lot of loose talk around on the subject of corruption, and that there is a terrible tendency to harbor suspicions that if we gave a good, long, hard, honest look, wouldn't be justified.
Still, those suspicions of corruption are so widespread, they're even showing up on children's television.
Alistair, if you had to describe today's politicians in one word, what would it be? How about unethical? Close, but not quite. How about unscrupulous? Even worse? Even worse. How about slimy? Yeah, slimy.
Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
Phil, you're overreacting. We've got 30 people out there. Okay, I made a crude remark about your breath. I apologize.
There's no mouthwash. I looked.
I bought something new.
It's cool, crisp, like nothing you've ever tasted. It's blue.
It's Scope. Taste it.
Introducing Scope Peppermint. Yes, peppermint. Like original mint, it kills germs like medicine-y mouthwash, and your breath's icy clean. Whoa!
Exactly, Phil.
Now the power of scope comes in peppermint, too.
I took Metamucil, but it was so gritty.
That's why we made Citracel. Look, Metamucil's gritty, so it won't all go through the strainer. Citracel's special fiber pours right through. Citracel, great taste, no grit.
Every spoonful of Fiber One has 3 times as much fiber as a spoonful of Kellogg's Bran Flakes. 3 times. Unless, of course, you eat your Bran Flakes with one of these.
Comprehensive health services and protection at an affordable cost. That's what one of America's strongest insurance, financial, and health service experts offers you. All backed by 52 years of health service expertise that covers over 8 million Americans. It's one of the most dramatic developments in healthcare today. From the travelers, you're better off under the umbrella.
With Friday's mini meltdown in the stock market and uncertainty about the market when it resumes tomorrow, there were some words of caution today for small investors. They came from Nicholas Brady, the head of the presidential task force that studied October's market crash. That task force concluded that a few institutional investors caused much of the crash.
Well, I think the fact that a handful of large investors can have this kind of effect on the market is unsettling. And the public has to look at it and see and say to themselves, this is a strange performance that's going on. What chance do I have?
In Florida, they'll take their chances for the first time this week on a lottery, part of a nationwide trend to try to fill up the public treasuries. Victoria Corderi has that story.
So you scratch?
The hype is heavy for Florida's new lottery.
A ticket to the Florida lottery for my friends here.
On Tuesday, Florida joined some 24 states that have lotteries. Analysts expect more to follow, especially as states find themselves with diminishing federal funds and a voting public allergic to more taxes.
Lotteries are popular because, number one, the states need additional revenues, and this is a painless way to raise revenue. And number two is the public wants them.
Lotteries are often sold to the public as good for everyone. In Florida, for instance, voters were told part of the lottery profits would go toward education. The money, it turns out, is only enough to fund 7 days of school.
It's just a drop in the bucket. But it's a big drop in the bucket, and it's dollars that education wouldn't have otherwise.
Hello, California.
Maybe so, but in California, educators ended up losing money by tying their fortunes to the lottery. First, the state cut its school funding. Then lottery revenues dropped.
You never know what situations are going to occur. It's not a very stable source of funding.
Nevertheless, lotteries remain popular. Americans spent $15 billion on lottery tickets in 1986. Already, people are forming lottery clubs, hoping to hedge their bets by pooling their money.
I'm buying that snazzy car.
They are fueled by stories of big winners, like this couple, taking home $46 million in the Pennsylvania lottery. But despite the hype, the millionaires are few.
Before long, the state of Florida will be crawling with a different kind of greenbacks.
And Floridians may soon find they stand a better chance of meeting up with the old kind of greenback than of taking home a jackpot. Victoria Corderi, CBS News, Miami.
In London, the Church of England today acknowledged it probably was swindled out of $21,000 in an effort to free hostage negotiator Terry Waite. A church spokesman said the money disappeared after it was paid to 2 Englishmen who claimed they might negotiate Waite's release. Waite has been missing in Lebanon for a year now. West Berlin authorities revealed today that they are looking for a West German woman in connection with the 1986 disco bombing that killed 2 American soldiers. One source said she was working for 2 men convicted as Palestinian terrorists. The U.S. blamed Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi for that bombing and staged air raids on Libya right afterwards.
Okay, honey.
Can you tell who hasn't had their Kellogg's Bran Flakes?
Hang in there, honey.
Well, some people feel a little sluggish if they're not eating a balanced diet.
Oh, boy, am I sluggish.
Kellogg's are the only Bran Flakes with fiber and a full day supply of iron to help balance your diet. And that's one great way to help fight that sluggish feeling. So maybe you can tell who hasn't had their Kellogg's Bran Flakes
Great shot, honey.
and who has. Kellogg's Bran Flakes, the fiber and iron cereal.
This is Brother Rice. He hasn't spoken a word in exactly 20 years. So I brought him this new FTD Celebrate bouquet. The flowers, colorful bowl, and fun box make it a celebration worth shouting about, right? Send the new FTD Celebrate bouquet.
We love visiting America.
Hot dog, fried chicken, pizza.
But we're glad you have Keopectate.
Keopectate,
Nothing relieves diarrhea and calms cramps faster than Keopectate tablet formula.
the diarrhea specialist.
The big news in Hollywood today concerned not movie reels, but real estate. The 42-room mansion once owned by Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks, called Pickfair, has been sold to entertainer Pia Zadora and her husband, industrialist Meshulam Riklis. They paid nearly $7 million. It cost Fairbanks $35,000 back in 1919. Well, as if it weren't bad enough paying your income taxes, it now looks like the cost of having them prepared is going to be higher than ever. That's the result of new tax regulations, which are so baffling that they are driving CPAs to training courses. Harold Dow reports.
You'll try to sleep, but it will come creeping into your mind.
Doing your taxes has always been a bad dream, but this year it will really be a nightmare. And the Internal Revenue Service has good reason to warn taxpayers not to wait until the last minute. The fear has already started. Accountants all over the country are bracing themselves for what they feel will be the worst tax year ever.
Congressional leaders working on the 1986 Tax Reform Act promised a simpler tax system. But in the end, they said they had to sacrifice simplicity for fairness. What taxpayers got is a very complicated set of tax regulations. So complicated, even certified public accountants are confused.
For example, if you're subject to the AMT at 21%,
This weekend, over 400 CPAs braved a snowstorm and freezing weather to attend a training course so they could learn about the changes in the new tax code.
I'd like to know the name of the people who sit there and figure out these complex rules for us.
Accountants say the amount of information now needed to prepare a tax return is shocking. They say they will spend 20 to 50% more time preparing 1987 returns than they spent on returns in years past. And since time is money, fees will increase. A prepared return that cost $200 last year could cost as much as $300 this year.
The rules are changing so rapidly. There are interpretations that have not come out yet, so there's a lot of ambiguity, there's uncertainty.
But while accountants may want a little tender loving care this year, just remember the tax laws have changed, but you're still paying the bill. Harold Dow, CBS News, New York.
Imagine you were building a town. One company can supply you with almost any kind of truck to do almost any kind of job. That company is Ryder. We're more than yellow trucks. We help build towns, business by business, family by family, dream by dream. Ryder, we're there at every turn.
If an MCI customer has a problem, we'll work on it, even into the middle of the night. Maybe someday, we'll work 9 to 5. At least that's what I tell my wife.
Until you call, you'll never know how much better a long-distance company can be.
Is anything as lonely as an only cup of coffee? It doesn't have to be. Weight Watchers has gorgeous cake, beautiful pie. Bye-bye, lonely only, bye-bye. Weight Watchers, this is living.
100 times a day I used to hear, Mom, where's the mustard? Or, honey, I can't find the ice cream. But not with our new Whirlpool refrigerator. The shelves slide out so you can reach food way at the back. And with the slide-out baskets in the freezer, nothing gets hidden away.
Oh, by the way, honey, you see my golf clubs?
If they're in there, you'll find them.
We're making your world a little easier. Whirlpool.
In the football playoffs today, the Washington Redskins rallied from a 14-point deficit to upset the Chicago Bears. That means the Skins will play the Minnesota Vikings next Sunday for the NFC Championship and a berth in the Super Bowl. Another sporting event you might have missed today was a big bike race in California. Bicycling, of course, doesn't get nearly the attention of football, but David Dow reports the industry nonetheless is on a roll.
There was a festive air this morning as thousands of cyclists launched through the streets of Long Beach, California. And why not? It was the climax of a big convention for the bicycle industry, an industry with a lot to celebrate.
The bicycle business is enjoying a boom that's unprecedented since the boom that it had in the early 70s. It's a sleeping giant.
A giant worth $2 billion a year in sales that's tripled in size in a decade and turned some corner bicycle shops into multi-million-dollar emporia.
We sell between 4,000 and 5,000 bicycles annually, and the average price of those bicycles is in the $400 to $450 range.
It's obvious on the nation's bike paths. In every sense, bicycling has grown up.
Children have always ridden, and children do ride, but this boom is a boom of adults, and it's a upscale boom. It's of adults who want to buy health expensively and visibly.
Of couples like Jim and Leslie Graham, who've sunk nearly $4,000 into cycling since deciding they were mismatched as joggers.
But something we could do together and stay together instead of, wait, I'm coming!
Besides, jogging in its heyday never offered the high-tech options of modern bicycling.
It's a double recurved composite laminate made of alternating layers of carbon and Kevlar.
If carbon and Kevlar aren't your thing, check out the other offerings at this weekend's convention. Studded snow tires for your bike. Or how about an automatic transmission?
I think it's one of the great ideas of all time.
Or the latest thing in seat covers.
Imitation wool with an 1.5 inch piece of foam and a drawstring tie. It's completely washable.
Or forget bicycles. Cycling, after all, is a fashion show as well.
People wear things to bicycle now that they would have been arrested in 5 years ago.
But these days, nobody's getting arrested, not even for 35 on the bike path. And even with recession talk around, dealers are bullish, hoping that Americans will pedal them to another record year in 1988. David Dow, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And that's our news. Dan Rather, of course, will be here tomorrow. I'll be back a bit later with the CBS Sunday Night News. For now, I'm Susan Spencer. Have a nice evening.
It's just like a breath of fresh air early in the morning.
There's something about the taste of Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
I mean, usually I start sneaking some out of the box before I even get it into the bowl.
The tradition.
I've been eating them since I was a little girl. My son eats them.
The value.
You can buy all the imitations and not get Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
That make it part of a breakfast people feel special about.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes is tops.
Corn Flakes from Kellogg's. What more could you want from a cereal?
This is Ben Gay. It's relieved minor arthritis pain for nearly a century. This is Aspicrine. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission ruled it didn't prove it relieves arthritis pain at all. Ben Gay, real relief from minor arthritis pain.
Where does it hurt?
Here.
For indigestion, heartburn, and gas, nobody does as much as Malox Plus. Dose for dose, it neutralizes more than any regular strength antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as Malox Plus.
I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Kathleen Sullivan. Tomorrow, a look ahead at the Pro Football Championship.
Also, Larry King, back from heart surgery on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.